What caused you to start falling in love with the game?
Honestly, I didn't get that feeling until I was in high school. Eighth grade, I just played because I was the tallest kid in the area. And the coach was like, she came up to me first day of school, was like, "You're playing basketball this year. Like, you don't have an option." High school kind of just played because I was tall. By my junior year of high school, my coach was like, "You can make a lot of money if you take this sport seriously." And that's when I kind of like fell in love with basketball and started taking basketball seriously.
What's going on today? I'm the host, Zach Schumaker, and joining me today is the reigning A10 Defensive Player of the Year. He's been selected twice to the All A10 team, 3 times to the All A10 defensive team, and once to the All A10 freshman team. He also was the 2021 A10 tournament MVP. He's a member of the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Center of the Year Watchlist, and is the Bonnie's second all-time leading shot blocker. Osun Osunniyi, appreciate you coming on today, man.
Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, as I just said, you are currently second all-time in program history in blocks. You are now 14 away from becoming the all-time block leader. What goes through your mind when someone says that?
Uh, just all the good people that came before me. All the names that I, been able to pass in my time here at Bonaventure. Just some of the great players. I know Andrew Nicholson was. I just passed Andrew Nicholson. I know I have Caswell left. He's number one right now. Just thinking of all the greats that played before me.
It's not just that. Obviously, having a record is going to be huge for you, but you've also now cemented yourself, or is still in the process of cementing yourself as one of the best Bonnies, period. How have you just done that? What does it mean to know that? Obviously, you still have potentially another year, and if that's something you want, but even if you lead up to this season, like you've now put yourself in a group of some of the most elite Bonnies to ever play at the school.
It's an honor and a blessing, honestly. To be even in the conversation with some of those guys. Like I said, it's an honor. Credits to my teammates and my coaches for helping me be in that position and putting me in that position to be, like I said, in the talks, one of the greats.
And becoming the guy that you are today hasn't just been something that happened overnight. It's been an interesting journey for yourself. And that's why I want to get people to get to know about you and how you've become this player that you are today. So if we head all the way back, the beginning of the story takes place out there in New Jersey. What was it like growing up out there?
Nothing crazy. I kind of grew up in a small town, Pleasantville, New Jersey. Not a lot going on. Wasn't really doing anything at a young age as far as sports wise, just hanging out with friends and just being with my family most majority of the time. But Jersey, South Jersey is just like it's just a quiet area where I'm from.
You mentioned that sports wasn't really a part of your life. I know you started playing in eighth grade, I believe, basketball. Was that the first sport you started playing, or when did you first start playing
I
sports?
mean, growing up as a kid, I participated in like soccer and baseball. I played football 1 year in eighth grade, but I didn't really. I played basketball for like a year in like fifth grade. It was just kind of like a travel group that I and that was in my town, but I didn't really start playing it until like eighth grade.
So what caused you to start falling in love with the game? Why all of a sudden did you say, this is the sport I want to play?
Honestly, I didn't get that feeling until I was in high school. Eighth grade, I just played because I was the tallest kid in the area, and the coach was like, she came up to me first day of school, was like, "You're playing basketball this year. Like, you don't have an option." High school kind of just played because I was tall. By my junior year of high school, my coach was like, "You can make a lot of money if you take this sport seriously." And that's when I kind of like fell in love with basketball and started taking basketball seriously.
You are now a guy that's 6'10" or 6'11" even now. But I know that wasn't always a story for you. I know you were about 6'2" for the majority of the time, or at least hit that point. Then you had a big growth spurt. Take us to that aspect. Like, what led to that growth spurt, and how much did you actually grow from the 6'2" span to being 6'10"?
Um, I couldn't really tell you what led to it. It was just more like just as I got older, my dad was 6'1", so kind of used him as like a measurement of like how tall I was. So my freshman year, I was kind of like maybe eye to eye with him, maybe a little bit under. By my sophomore year, I was kind of like getting up there. My junior year, I might have hit like 6'6". I'm starting to look down at my dad, and I'm like, wow, I'm starting to sprout up really fast. And by high school, my senior year, I was like 6'7", 6'8", and then now 6'10", 6'11". So it kind of just progressed. But the biggest jump is probably my sophomore to junior year of high school.
So you said that you were the tallest kid even back then when you were playing in eighth grade. Then at 6'2" ish.
Yeah, basically, like it was just everyone was kind of like maybe like 5'9", 5'8". So I was the tallest kid walking around middle school.
When you did end up going to high school, let's get into that. And you start off at Mainland High. That's where at least you played your high school career at. And like you said, didn't really start to upperclassmen years. But what led you going to that school?
It was a regional high school. I lived in one of the areas that we went to, so I went from middle school out there and went right to the high school. Some of my friends I knew were there too. So like I said, it was a regional high school. So I was in one of the three towns that went to that high school.
When you look at the fact that you've become the guy that you are today, when you walked into high school, did you have any idea of even potentially wanting to play sports in the collegiate level, or is that something that just kind of developed over time then?
Developed over time. Going into high school, I wasn't worried about playing college basketball, playing professional basketball. I mean, every kid has that dream, but
Mhm.
for me, I was more worried about just enjoying my childhood, like well, enjoying high school as a freshman and sophomore. I didn't really think about college basketball or what could happen if I started taking basketball seriously at that point.
That's obviously going to be a next huge jump for you coming in your upperclassmen years, but your freshman and sophomore seasons, where were you in terms of basketball? Were you just like you said, just there for just doing it, or when did you start kind of finding some enjoyment in it?
Freshman year was kind of just there just to do it. You know, all my friends tried out, so we all were just playing. Sophomore year, I was there, wasn't really like the love for it. It was just there playing, and then probably my junior year, high school is when I kind of like got the love for it, the fire to play basketball.
So those first two seasons, when you were talking about your future, did you have any idea what you wanted to do in terms of anything? Like what was some of your passions you had growing up or jobs you even considered doing when you were younger?
Growing up as a kid, just play video games. That's kind of what I do now. Still, is just I'm always on Xbox in my free time or just relaxing. But freshman and sophomore year, I was go to school, practice in the after school, and then go home and play Xbox all night. So that was kind of just me just playing Xbox with my friends all night. Wasn't really thinking about a career, if anything, at that point.
The place that you grew up in New Jersey is a place that is known for basketball talent. It's always been one of the top places for producing talent, always will be. What was that like? Like once you did start enjoying the game of basketball, just knowing that you're competing against all these top level guys that are NBA players potentially, college players, what was that like?
It was fun. You know, at first it was kind of just like I was there, but as I got the love for it, it was like I looked forward to playing those games and being able to play basketball every single day. So as I got older, the love and the fire for the game started to like really like click for me.
Let's go into that junior season. That's when, as you said, that's when you really start falling in love with the game of basketball. What caused that love? Was it just you grew and you just felt more comfortable out there, or what caused you to fall in love with the game?
I think it was more my high school coaches, just always in my ear and like believing in me and like just telling me how like they saw the potential that I had. Um, every single day they were always like saying like you need to get in the gym, work out, you need to get in the gym and lift. So I think for that, I think it was just them just like standing in my ear and just giving me the confidence and motivation.
If someone came and told you at that point in time as a junior that 6 or so years after, 7 years after that point, you're going to be one of the top players in a Division I program school history, you have a shot at playing the NBA. Could you ever have even imagined that?
Nah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even believe you. I would just like ignored you. I wouldn't think I'd be in this position right now.
And during that junior season, it didn't necessarily go as planned. I know you missed a lot of your season due to injuries as well. Take us to that aspect.
It was rough mentally because that's when I started to get like the feel and the love for basketball. But mentally it was rough because I was young, so I never really went through like an injury. I lost like time off playing basketball, but I said my coaches, my teammates at the time, they were all like there with me, just keeping my head up. During the entire like injury process of getting back.
You then head into your senior season. That's by far your best season of high school. You end up averaging a double double, 14 points a game, 11 rebounds. You guys go to the regional semifinals, 22-6 record that season. What was that senior like for you?
That season was honestly it was special because of the guys that I was with. The guys that I was with, I was with them since my first year of high school. So being able to like play that season and did what we like play how we played, it was kind of special. Kind of sucks how it ended, but it was a special season for us.
At that point in time, recruiting also gets going for yourself too. That's when you start getting some offers. You originally do commit to LaSalle, but take us to the very first offer that I came into you. What was your reaction? Just how did you get that first Division I offer?
Uh, I got it from LaSalle after we actually lost the game that the head coach came to play. So like my high school coach told me that assistant was coming in, so I was kind of nervous. I was like, "Oh, an assistant coach coming in, okay." And then maybe like 2 hours before the game, he's like, "No, the head coach is actually on his way." So then I got really nervous. We ended up losing that game, but I think I played well defensively, not offensively. And after the game, he came up to me, told me that he wanted to give me a scholarship offer, and basically how the first one got, I got my first offer.
When that happened, what was going through your mind?
Uh, shock, one, two, happy. It was a bunch of emotions. Like I didn't think I would get Division I offer, but then when I got my first one, I kind of like kind of realized that my work was paying off.
You end up committing to LaSalle then, but who really was in the process and mix for you? Like, what other schools were you heavily considering?
Honestly, it was only two at the time. I had a couple like I had a Division 3 school that was in two Division 3 schools that were in state, Stockton University and TCNJ, the College of New Jersey. But the only other school, that Division 1 school that kind of had interest was Lafayette.
Mhm.
It was a nice school, but I just wasn't really like a fit for me. It kind of fit. I think I like LaSalle's fit more at the time, so that's kind of why I chose them.
You end up making a decision then to decommit from LaSalle. You decide to take an extra post grad year. What led to that decision?
Well, actually, I when I committed to LaSalle, they put me in the prep school, so that it wasn't for 2017 to 2018. So I did a prep school year
Mhm.
there. The head coach wanted me to like go there and like just work on my game and like get better. So I went there and just honestly was just focused on my game at that time, just trying to get better. But then the season ended and I ended up like after the season, we ended up winning the national championship for prep school. I went home, was getting ready to go to summer session at LaSalle, and I got a phone call from the head coach. He was telling me that he was getting fired. So it kind of made the whole entire process for me like shaky because like it was really late and I didn't know as far as like what I would do if I was going to stay with LaSalle or decommit. So that kind of whole process kind of stressful for me.
So when they told you what school to go to, was that already kind of set up for Putnam, or then did you decide to go to a different
I
prep school?
had different visits at different prep schools, but I ended up choosing Putnam in the end.
That team is a very special team, and there's a guy in that I'm sure you guys have become even more close to now over the past 4 years, and that's Kyle. So you got to walk us through this because that's when you blow up as a recruit. Then you start getting high major offers. Kyle has got some offers, not necessarily blowing up to the extent that you did, but he ends up getting a school like St. Bonaventure. He commits there. Obviously, we know where you end up as well. So on the recruiting side of that, how did that all unfold? And just walk us through your next recruiting process.
So decommitted from LaSalle, went back to prep school to work out in front of other college coaches just to see like how I needed to get an offer because I wasn't going to end up going to LaSalle. And from the moment that I even said I was going to decommit, Kyle was like texting me, like saying that the coaches here wanted me. He was sending me like text messages that the coaches were texting me. He was sending me like videos and stuff like that. And we already had played together for that 1 year at Putnam. So I was kind of like, we had built a relationship. I already like playing with him, how he played. We already had like a chemistry together. So it was kind of like he had an advantage going into that process. We already had played together, and the coaching staff wanted us to come in together and kind of play together. So he kind of had advantage over everybody else, but it was still kind of like a tough decision at first. Just seeing all the offers that I did have come in, it was kind of a shock for me.
When you were getting down to the final ending process of that, and you had the schools like Syracuse in the mix, Georgetown in the mix, who ended up really being the finalist for you? Obviously, St. Bonaventure's there, but who would you say was like maybe a second or third favorite school?
Uh, Honestly, it might have been Syracuse.
Mhm.
It was a tough like it went hand in hand, but it I don't know. I probably would have leaned towards more towards Syracuse more. I don't know, honestly.
When it did come down to that, you look at a school at Syracuse who is being coached by Jim Boeheim. We know the history. It's not necessarily home for you, but it's still pretty close, relatively close, at least to your home. How big was Syracuse for you? And what did it mean to you to get that offer?
Oh, I mean, it was. I was shocked. My parents were like shocked when they went on the visit to official visit up there. It was just from where I came from to being in that point where I'm having Syracuse offer me and I'm on an official visit there to having Georgetown offer me on an official visit there. It was just like it honestly was just a shock for me. Just from what I started at, where I started at to like where I was at that point, it was just honestly a shock to me.
We're going to get into St. Bonaventure stuff in a second, but I do want to go through that post grad year for yourself because that really was on the next level where you're playing in front of big time programs, playing as other top prospects, and you elevate yourself there as well. So you head out there to Putnam Science. They haven't won a championship at that point. What was it like just getting ready for that season? Just how excited were you to be able to play that season?
Um, I was actually really excited because like the first day I got there, I noticed the guys that I was going against were my size, bigger, more athletic. So kind of like pushed me to work harder than what I was already doing. And so for me, I knew at the time exactly what I need to get ready to play at the college level, playing against guys that are bigger than me, stronger than me, move faster than me. So, and all honestly, I was ready to play. I was ready to practice. I was ready to get to work at Putnam.
That season, I said, you have an incredible season. You guys go 38-4 as a team. How special was that season?
It was really special to be able to win the school's first national prep championship and just do it with that group of guys. It was that whole year was just unbelievable.
You kind of mentioned a little bit there, but the biggest thing about going to a post grad school or even in high schools now, those that go to like the nationals teams that go and play all around the country is that yes, you're playing other teams that are great too, but it's that everyday practice. You're going up against guys at a Division I level. How critical was that for your development to be able to go up against those guys day in, day out of practice?
Like I said, it got my mind ready. It got like my mental ready. And got my physical like self ready. Just being able to like knowing that basically that was what practice was going to be like every single day at the college level, going against guys that were same size, bigger, stronger, and push me every single day. So that all of that got me ready for Bonaventure.
When you and Kyle first got to know each other, did you guys click right away? Did it take some time to develop that relationship, or how did you guys grow into
Uh,
the duo that you are today?
we weren't as close at first, but as the season progressed, we got closer playing with like playing games together and just hanging out off the court. I had no idea like who he was or anything like that when I first got to the school, but as the season got on, we got to know each other more. We came closer.
So we hop back into that recruiting process then. You end up shooting St. Bonaventure, and Kyle was on here a few months ago, I guess, during the summer, and he mentioned that when you officially did tell him that I'm going to go to your school, we're going to team up now there, he was kind of pretty shocked about that. So take us through how you originally told Kyle that you're going to be coming to St. Bonaventure.
So that whole process went down. I had the last three schools, and I kind of just like talked to my parents, and I already knew what level of Division One I could play at and be like dominant, and produce. And LaSalle had already offered me, but when I got the Bonaventure offer, and then Kyle had committed after our championship game, it kind of was just like I like playing with Kyle. We already had chemistry, so it was like it kind of like made sense for me to go there. So I ended up telling Coach Schmidt at first, and then I kind of told Kyle like he knew what he didn't know, but he kind of knew. I told him like we're gonna be playing it. We're going to playing it for 4 years. So it's kind of like on like a low key thing because the way I wanted to announce it at our banquet for Putnam.
And that is an interesting decision you made too, in terms of just looking at the names. And that's something that whenever recruits talk about that, it's something that I think is critical for anybody that yes, a Syracuse obviously had a bigger name and Georgetown has a bigger name, but that's great and all. And you could obviously play to make it to the NBA out of those schools too. It's been done, but finding the best fit's the most critical thing for anybody. And that's obviously been evident for yourself. You've developed into an NBA prospect now at St. Bonaventure. How are you able to evaluate that and say, it might not have as big of a name, but I know that this is the best fit for me?
Um, just knowing my skill set and
Mhm.
what I'm able to do and what I could bring to a team. So, like looking back on that decision, I think I made the best decision because here I am now in the position that I am. Just knowing that what I was capable of doing and what my skill set was, I thought that Bonaventure was the best place for me to be able to like expand my game and help to become a better player.
You get out there as a freshman, and for starters, you already mentioned Coach Smith. He obviously has been a great coach. Has been with the Bonnies for a very long time now. How has your guys' relationship grown from the first day started recruiting you to today?
Uh, it's grown like so much. I can't even describe it. I mean, when I first got to campus, all he was talking about was me just gaining weight, and that was basically his whole first process from the whole first season. Just got to gain weight, got to gain weight, got to gain weight. To now, it was just now it was gaining weight, but now it's more like offensive stuff, which we talked about that when I came on my visit about where I am and like where he sees me being, and to this day we still talk and like still like he still gives me advice on things that I should be working on and practice and when I'm working out with assistant coaches every single day.
And he is an incredible coach. I think he's underrated for a lot of people don't necessarily know how great he is because obviously as your coach out there at land top recruits, and that's not necessarily an easy job either, but he's taken countless guys with your same story that play on late, guys that were unranked or not really noticed by too many people and help make these teams that are always competitive in the A10 and in the country in general. How does he do that though? How does he develop guys and just what's the development plan for you and just overall the whole team?
Uh, his plan is just getting guys that have chips on their shoulder, guys who want to prove people wrong and let people know that you don't need to go to a big time school to be a great player in college. And for everyone that came in, like I said, we all had a chip on our shoulder. We all wanted to prove everyone wrong that like all these schools have overlooked us that we can play, we can contend with the best teams in the country, and you don't really need the big name to be a great player.
That's evident in the way you guys play and just how kind of tight you guys are when you see you guys on the court. So, what's that like when you go and see the other guys that you go out there and start with and guys that come off the bench? There's a whole locker room for a
Mhm.
lot of you guys to have that same story. Just how close does that make you guys, and what's it like knowing that you guys all kind of play for the same reason in a way?
Oh, it makes us even closer. It makes us work harder. It makes us like want to be like. It makes us more like anxious to play the games every single day, just to show everyone that like we came from this and we're still like we can still be and we still can show that we're like the best players in the country, no matter what the school is we're playing for.
What would you say has been your favorite memory of Coach Schmidt so far?
Probably winning the A10 championship last year. Just that whole experience with everything that happened with COVID during that whole year, just winning that championship was probably really special.
How about off the court? Is there a memory that stands out the most with you too?
Uh, I mean, I would say majority of the summer sessions when we're here in the summer, just him cracking jokes and just being like kind of laid back and just not being Coach Schmidt during the season. And any time we're off the court, he's always cracking jokes in the summertime. Just not he's being like more laid back. That's just funny for me.
And that's another personality trait that Kyle also talked about, where a lot of guys don't see that side of him. A lot of people know that he's an aggressive type coach when we see him in games. Was that shocking to you when you first started hanging around him off the court to see his other personality?
No, because when I came in as a freshman, my seniors kind of gave me the heads up. Like when I first did a summer session, he was all joking and everything like that. And they were like, when the season starts, this is gonna go away. And at first I was like, you guys are kidding, but at first meeting he came in and I was like, wow, they were serious. So I've been telling all the new guys coming in like in the summertime, like he's laughing and joking now, but when that season starts, he's gonna change completely.
Which one do you like the best?
Uh well, of course I'm gonna say off season because he's joking and laid back and just messing around. But when he's in season, he's just so locked in, like on the season and on the games. Like he'll joke every now and then, but like when he's locked in, he's locked in.
Let's go into your freshman season there. You come in as a freshman, you end up starting about a good portion of that season, 21 of those games. But what were your expectations? What did you expect to accomplish that season and get done when you were heading into your freshman year?
Uh, my freshman year, just for me, my goals were just to be a force on the defensive end. Like if things happen on offense, yeah, but I knew that my like main thing that I had going for me was playing defense, and that was kind of my whole thing coming in, just be able to play defense and bring in like a defensive edge to the team.
That is a huge piece why I've always loved your game, because you have developed your offensive game. It's improved a lot, and that's something that can continue to improve over time. But a lot of guys that are at your position want to go all out for scoring or really go all out and being something that can bring the ball up or whatever it is, which can be fine too. But being able to lock in on one thing and really learn to truly dominate that craft is a huge thing when you're talking about playing at the NBA someday. So what's allowed you to lock in throughout your entire career now and say, I'm going to develop and work on other aspects, but I'm going to make sure I take my pride in being a defensive anchor, being a guy that can block over 3 shots a game, 2 shots a game. What's led you to be able to embrace that role?
Uh, just my teammates giving me confidence on the defensive end. Like anytime I block a shot, they're letting me know we need you. We appreciate you on defensive end, even if I'm not scoring. Like they tell me that we need you on the defensive end because it helps them. So just I give the credit to my teammates on that.
When you do start starting for your team that season, how did you embrace that role? And just what was that freshman year overall like for you from the get-go to the end?
Uh, Freshman year was kind of up and down, but it was a learning experience for me. I would say being able to get a taste of Division One basketball at the A10 level and to be able to play in the A10 championship as a freshman. We lost, which sucked, but just that was an overall like a really huge learning experience for me that whole freshman year, just taking in the experience, the league, and how everything was.
This team has a starting five now that completely returned. We'll talk about that in a second too. But the first pieces of that was Kyle and you, which we already discussed. Then Dom comes in. Jaren's also there. Obviously, he has to redshirt that first year play there, though. But how did you guys just grow that relationship? I'm sure you and Kyle were a lot closer than the other two from the beginning. But how did you guys just start forming that? And just what was like kind of getting that bond together that first year?
On the court and off the court, we're always with each other off the court. Anywhere we go, getting food, going out, whatever it is, we're always with each other. So we were always just next to each other, with each other off the court. It kind of just helps translate to on the court.
Did you guys all click right away, or did it take some time?
When you're here for like 5 weeks in the summertime and just no one else around, you kind of forced to be together. So I wouldn't say it was like a rough. We kind of came in and just clicked. We were all like cool from the beginning.
Out of the starting five today, so including Jalen in that, which one of you guys is the funniest one?
Uh, that's probably Kyle or Dom.
And what's your favorite memory you guys have created together off the court?
Us five. Uh, Probably I don't know. There's too many. I mean, I don't think there's like a funny one, but there's so many times we're all together just laughing, uh, off the court in the hotels on road trips, just laughing about literally it could be anything, like anything at all.
Then heading into your sophomore season, you end up having a huge jump, especially on the offensive end that year as well, but in all stat categories. So, what led to that jump?
Um, Coach Schmidt telling me that that freshman and sophomore year is when guys start to separate themselves, and that's when you find out who the good players are. So that whole summer, it was just me trying to lock in as much as I could offensively and still polish up my defensive side.
That sophomore season, you guys do go 19-12. Overall, still a pretty good season. What was that sophomore year like for you?
Um, it was a learning experience for us. We had a young team. We had one senior, a bunch of sophomores, and a bunch of freshmen. So it was kind of a learning experience for us because we went from being freshmen to basically being the vets and having to lead the young guys with the one senior that we did have. So that whole year was kind of just a learning experience for us and just like a time to just learn everything, learn the game, learn the conference, learn the business of Division One basketball.
Then it comes into play COVID, and that obviously messes up the tournament stuff and all those opportunities. How did that change for you that offseason, though? I know each guy took a different approach when COVID came into play. How were you able to work out during the COVID offseason?
Uh, just any chance I had to work out, lifting in my house or in my backyard or just running around my complex, just anything to do to keep myself busy and myself active, knowing that it was hard to get into a gym because all the buildings were shut down, but just any way I could, like working out, like lifting or running as much as I could.
Your junior season comes in, and then obviously COVID's still in effect. And I know a lot of guys enjoy the season in terms of just being able to play the game, but there's a lot of stuff that didn't make it the most fun season to say. So, what was the COVID year like for you?
Um, Interesting. I would say it was really interesting with the rules and how everything was. No fans. Every game felt like a practice because it was just us and the other team. It was no fans. There was no home court advantage ever. So it was an interesting year, honestly.
How much have you been able to enjoy getting away from the constant protocols and the mask constantly being worn and getting the testing almost every single day? How much of the relief in a way has this year been now?
I'm so glad we're not testing every single day. That was probably one of the worst things ever. Every game after every game we got tested, get tested 3 times a week. It was probably the worst thing about last year was just the testing every single day. You kind of got used to the mask and having them on, kind of like it was
Mm-hmm.
here and there. But the worst thing is probably getting tested every other day.
That season might not have been the most fun off the court, but you guys were dominant on it. You guys went 16-5 as a team. You had an incredible year. You get A10 Defensive Player of the Year. You guys become A10 champs. You guys go to the tournament. What was that junior year like for you?
It was fun, honestly. Even with everything that was going on, we had fun. We stayed together. We stuck together through whatever happened, COVID shutdowns or games getting canceled. We just stuck together and just had fun playing. And just we honestly, the whole team just locked in and knew that if we wanted to play basketball, the other stuff had to go on pause. And I think everyone that year just locked in with basketball and just enjoyed being together and playing basketball.
What was the biggest or your favorite memory that you guys created throughout the COVID year?
Probably winning A10s and then like, just experiencing the NCAA tournament. I mean, growing up as a kid, you always see that stuff and want to be a part of it. Even though it was COVID, which was kind of different, but just being able to be there and experience that was probably one of the best things.
Heading into the season, though, you guys add in Jalen, who has now become another key piece of that core group for you guys. How was the adjustment of getting him? Like, how much different did he make you guys as a team, and how did he fit into the other four stars you guys had?
I think he that whole his whole redshirt year, I think he locked in and tried to learn the offense as much as he could, so that when he was able to be eligible to play, that he wasn't so far behind. I think he had a great work ethic, and that we already had that. So I think him coming in with that and just wanting to work every day just made us better.
When you guys were getting ready for the year, there were some expectations in a sense, but to go 16-5, I'm not sure there's too many teams that expected that type of year for you guys. So was that the expectation for you guys, though? Did you guys believe that you guys were that special of a team heading into the year?
Yeah, we felt that we could be a really good team. Going that summer session, we were talking about it, and the coaches were talking to the older guys, all of us, that this could be the year that we could do something. We believed in it. We locked in every day, and we just went on to the work.
You guys get to that A10 championship, and it's obviously a huge game against a guy that was a spectacular player now playing for Denver and Bones. Walk us through that game, though. You guys head out there. Obviously, you guys know what's at stake. That's a huge game for you guys, not just for that, but also tournament wise as well. How do you guys prepare for that game? Just take us to the championship game.
Um, we just prepared like it was another game, but just it just had a different, like the ending was it would be different than a regular game. Went into that game preparing like we did the first two times we played them. We made our adjustments. I think the big difference in that game was just the fans. Honestly, our fans that were there, it felt like a home game. There was VCU fans there, but it just felt like we were playing back in the Raleigh Center when we went out there for to play that game.
And you guys do have one of the best fan bases. They're gonna not just show out at home; they're gonna travel as well. How special is it? And just how much do you enjoy the Bonnie fans?
I love Bona Nation. Like I think I really understood how much the fans like love us and travelers when we played in Charleston in the Charleston Classic. Every game, and again, felt like a home game. It's supposed to be a neutral site, but you just hear Bonnie's fans everywhere. Even after the Clemson game, they're waiting for us outside. All at the hotels, they were just there. Everyone was there. So Bonna's Nation is probably the best fan base in the country, I'd say.
I want to get into that bubble experience because, as everyone's pretty much said, it was great when you get on the court. Off of it was maybe not the best place to be in. So, what was it like just getting to that bubble and having to go through all the COVID protocols in the bubble?
Uh, the bubble, it wasn't crazy bad. The first night we got there was kind of like terrible because we were in our rooms for a while waiting for the COVID test to get back. But I mean, after that, I mean, the whole like just how they had that whole place set up was just crazy. Just seeing the different teams, like all the teams that we would watch on TV, Baylor, Gonzaga, all those guys, all those big time players. It felt like an AAU tournament. Like those big time AAU, you walk around the hotel, you see all these great players walking by. The only part that was kind of bad was the testing, but after the first day, it kind of just you didn't really worry about that. You're kind of just taking it all in, honestly.
I believe you guys had to spend the first 48 hours in your room when you guys first got there. What was
Yeah,
that like?
that was boring. It was terrible because we had just got off the bus coming from Dayton in there, and then we got tested. We were just in our rooms, so it was kind of just like we were kind of just anxious to get out of our rooms, but it kind of sucked for most of it.
When you guys get on that court, you guys end up playing LSU. You guys end up losing that game. But what was like just finally get to go out there and play in an NCAA tournament game?
It was fun. I honestly had fun. The outcome wasn't what we wanted, but just an overall experience being able to say I played in the NCAA tournament was pretty fun.
Following that season, you guys had a lot of options, especially for someone like you and Kyle, who both obviously have a good chance of playing at the NBA. That could have been something you guys explored last season. You guys decided to come back for another year. But what was the motivation behind this? I want to walk us through this entire offseason process of you guys both deciding to come back and playing for St. Bonaventure at least one more year.
Um, for me personally, it was talking with my coaches and some other and like my parents and just trying to figure out what was the best plan for me. And for me, it was just how the whole year went and where I felt I was with my game. I felt like coming back for another year to like progress more and become a better player was the best decision for me in my future. I think it was the same thing for Kyle too. Coming out, we had talked about it. We had people talking to both of us about everything. I think for us, it was just coming back and just like polishing our game a little bit more before we decided to like leave college.
I have to imagine there was also a motivation coming back from obviously the tournament. I know you guys all had the expectation of saying that probably wasn't your guys' best showing. I think those that watched you guys in the A10 knew how good you guys were and how much deeper you guys could have possibly went. But that you guys obviously all you guys came back. No one transferred out of the core group. You guys all returned. Knowing that that was the case for you guys, how big was that for you guys in terms of making a statement this season?
Um, I think it was probably one of the biggest things in our minds, just coming back together to prove that last year, like you said, we didn't play our best game, but that we have the core group and we have the talent to be able to make a run in the tournament. So I think that was kind of one of the biggest motivations for all of us too coming back.
I'm not sure how close you are with him. I know Kyle talked about Woj a line. He is an alumni from St. Bonaventure, who obviously is probably the best overall basketball media personality you could possibly know. So, did he have an impact? Did you talk to him throughout this process, or what role did Woj have in you coming back?
He played a pretty big role. I mean, it's Woj. He's one of the most powerful guys in the basketball world professionally. So I me and him are pretty close. He's always texting us after our games and just
Mm-hmm.
giving us like feedback and confidence. But I had a conversation with him a couple of times and he gave me like some advice and I took that advice, like I took it to heart and I understood what he was saying and it was kind of one of the main reasons I came back to school too, just listening to him because he knows everyone, he knows all the what people are saying, all the ins and outs. So when whatever he was saying to me, I was listening and I was making sure I took everything in.
As you mentioned, he is one of the most powerful people in basketball in general. And a lot of people, you hear stories of maybe having an NBA player that played at your university before you that helps you out. Some guys have a former player as a coach. Anyone that has that experience and knowledge of the game is critical in anyone's career. So having him, like you just said, giving feedback after games, whatever it might be, how big has that been for you as a player?
It's really big. I mean, anything that I think I need to work on or that he hears when we're talking, he lets me know. And like I said, I take it, go to my coaches with it, and we work on it. So whatever he says, I'm always listening. Anytime he's texting or calling me, I'm always answering and picking up the phone.
What's the biggest thing of advice he's given you?
Uh, just to keep working, honestly, keep doing what I've been like when I've been able to do, keep working on the things, keep building on the things that I'm good at, and just polish other things. Everything will come.
So did he come in and start talking to you pretty much from the beginning of your career as a freshman? Did that come over time, or when did you first start getting into
Uh,
college?
I kind of first started talking to him my sophomore year. I didn't really like. We didn't really like. He was like I knew of him and he was an alumni, but I didn't really get to like have one-on-one conversations till my sophomore year.
Let's head into this senior year. And as we've already talked about, all five of you guys come in. What was the expectation for the year? What did you guys want to accomplish during the regular season, conference tournament, NCAA tournament? Like, what was the goal of this year as a senior?
The goal was to do the same thing we did last year. Honestly, that's probably what every team's goal is to win their regular season, win their tournament, and ultimately make a run in the big dance. So for us coming in, we knew the schedule that we were going to get, and we kind of told our coach that we deserved that schedule. We wanted that schedule. For us, it was just to come out and just show the world what we can do. Honestly,
To this point in the season, obviously you guys had a COVID pause, which messed up a lot of different stuff there. But would you guys say that this season has gone the way you guys were expecting it to do? Have you guys done a little bit worse than you guys expected, better? How do you guys feel the season has gone so far for you guys?
um, barring injuries and everything like that, I think to an extent we've kind of did what we thought we can do. We know we left some games out there that we didn't play our best, and we know that now. But barring injuries and COVID, I think we think we're doing like pretty solid this year, honestly.
That's the same thing I feel about you guys. And obviously, we see you guys that you guys have been getting healthy now. Just played a big game the other night against St. Louis. You guys all look great. How have you guys been able to lock out noise? Because I know a lot of people in the country have kind of closed the door on you guys, maybe not been as high on you guys as you guys were in the beginning of the year. How have you guys been able to say, okay, yes, we have had injuries, we've had COVID. We still know that we have a chance to be special this year. How have you guys kind of closed all the outside noise out?
We've been doing that since even last year.
Mm-hmm.
Coach always says to us like they didn't believe in us before, so don't listen to them then. We're not going to listen to them now. So even when they had us ranked and we were as high as 16, we were like, we don't care about that. Like we didn't listen to anybody before. We're not going to listen to anybody now. So it kind of just us being seniors, just blocking that noise like we always do.
You guys start off the year hot. You guys win the Charleston Classic. What was that experience like?
Oh, that was fun. Honestly, playing those teams and playing in that tournament was honestly that whole entire tournament was fun for us.
The one game I think is huge that a lot of people might not be looking at right now for you guys, and that why so I'm pretty high is you guys go out there against a team in Marquette who is now a top 25 type team, and you guys didn't just beat them, you guys beat them by a lot in a championship game. When you guys just looked at that, you guys won a championship though against a team like Marquette. What was that game like?
Um, I think for us, we knew they were a young team.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of knew that they were, even though they were young, they're really talented. All those guys are really, really talented players.
Mm-hmm.
I think for us being the older guys, we kind of just wanted to just be vets and just play the game how we know we can, and just make them like, fold under pressure and just get them to like not do things they're not used to comfortable doing. So I think that was kind of the game plan for us.
The COVID pause comes for you guys, and that's obviously not easy for anybody. And unfortunately, during that about that month span, there were a handful of teams that had big COVID pauses, some didn't have any. How did that impact you guys as a team?
Oh, it sucked. I mean, pauses suck. You can't play games mentally. It's dragging because you think you're going to play a game, and then next thing you know, you heard the game's canceled because of COVID or postponed. So like now you're like not practicing. Now you're just working out by yourself or with like a handful of guys. So mentally, it's really, really draining. Having that pause was terrible because like we wanted to play basketball. We love playing basketball. So that whole pause was just a mentally like a draining experience for us.
When you look at that and the impact it had in terms of win losses in the season, when did you guys feel like you guys finally could get together and be like, okay, We're back now. The COVID effects that we had from the pause are gone. When did you guys really start feeling like you guys were 100% again?
Um, it's tough to say when we felt 100%. It's kind of along the lines of just us just knowing that we need to do what we are capable of doing and playing the games that we know we can play so we can be the best we can be. It wasn't kind of just like a certain day where we're like, okay, we're back, we're feeling good. It was kind of just us knowing that we needed to play better and we needed to go back to doing the things that we did to help us be the team that people like were talking about us being a great defensive team and all this stuff. So it was kind of just us just locking in together and just playing our game.
Going a little bit deeper into you personally, you also have had another solid season, and some stat categories might have went down a little bit, but blocks you're at 3 per game right now, and like we already talked about, you're about ready to become the program's all-time leading shot blocker. Most likely, all signs point to you also winning the conference defensive player of the year once again. You're one of the top centers in the country. How have you learned to embrace this role of pretty much having even larger pressure on your back now? I know that a lot more people kind of looking at you and saying, okay, I know what he's capable of. I'm going to come at you. How have you learned to kind of embrace the tension and everything that comes with being the type of caliber guy you are now?
Just having confidence in myself, knowing that guys are going to come at me harder than they did before and try to get me out of position and just try to like ultimately get me out of the game. But honestly, just having confidence in myself and just working on my game.
What would you say is the biggest way that you've seen yourself grow as a player this season?
I would say, uh, I would say not fouling as much. I've only fouled out of one game this year. I think, like IQ wise, I've been learning how to not pick up dumb fouls. I think that was kind of the biggest thing for me this year. I noticed that I haven't really been fouling as much. I've been putting myself in a position where I have to sit for a long period of time because I'm in foul trouble. So I think that's been the big thing for me. I noticed.
You guys are coming onto the stretch end of the season now. A few games left. Obviously, you're a team that has a chance to possibly get into the tournament with an auto bid. But end of the day, we know what the big focus is. You guys just want to win the conference championship, whatever it is. So, how are you guys looking forward to the season? What statement do you guys want to make over the next few games, and what do you guys ultimately want to accomplish as a team over the next couple of games of the season?
Um, as a team, just take every game one game at a time and just finish out the season strong. Do our jobs, not focus on anybody else. As long as we do our job, we know that we'll put ourselves in the best position to be able to win the conference championship again. So for us, it's just one game at a time. We got UMass tomorrow, and that's all we're focused on right now.
How about for yourself personally? Is there anything you want to improve on or make a statement in for your final games of the season?
Uh, Probably just stay aggressive on offense like I have been the last 2 games. I've been kind of just like not been myself offensively, but the last 2 games I haven't been more aggressive. I think for me, I think that's what I just want to do: stay aggressive offensively.
We know the ultimate goal is not just winning the A10 championship, it's also going to the tournament and going as deep as you guys can. What will be the key for you guys to do that?
I think the key for us will probably be just getting back to our identity, which is playing defense and just being a grinded out team, a blue collar team, and just playing defense every single day. And if we do that, we put ourselves in the best position to win games.
Obviously, after the season, because of the COVID year, there still is technically another year of eligibility for yourself. When you look at that, does how the season finishes up, is that any impact on it? Or how do you plan to kind of evaluating that decision of potentially coming back for another year or even going pro?
That whole process will be kind of stressful. I'll probably sit down with my coaches and talk to them about what they think, how the season went for me, and what they think is the best decision for me.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to my parents as well, and just ultimately just sitting down and just making a decision I think is best for me.
When you looking at the NBA aspect, there's obviously everyone's got to wait till you feel ready for it. So for your game, is there something that you still want to improve on, get better at, or what would it take for you to feel comfortable saying, I know I'm capable of playing at the NBA and I'm at my peak self to play at the NBA right now?
Um, Obviously, I would say my offensive side. I mean, in my 4 years here, I've been known as a defensive guy, been able to do things on defensive end. So I think for me, if I end up deciding to leave, I think the whole summer is going to be just me working as much as I can on my offense, just getting my offense in the best, get my skill set as best as I can for that level.
A unique piece about you is that when they do come in, whenever that year is, if it's this year or next year, you decide to go in the NBA, your wingspan is going to go up in the record books as one of the longest ever, 7'8". How have you learned to be able to utilize that? And how have you learned to apply that into your game, both on the offensive and defensive end?
Defensively, it's just timing, I guess, for blocking shots and just using my length field to alter shots. And like I said, not picking up dumb fouls, be able to just alter shots and just staying straight up and walling up. And then offensively, just using to my advantage, getting to my spots and doing the things I've been working on all summer and just playing my game.
When you look at the NBA players, there's a lot of guys that are similar like you, where they're rim runners that can go and block shots, a lob threat. Who are some guys, or maybe one guy specifically, that you like watching and taking pieces from?
Uh, Honestly, my coaches have probably said a lot of like Clint Capella, the way he runs stuff like that. But people that I watch, I'm a Sixers fan, so I love watching Joel Embiid and just how he plays and how he's so dominant. And then one of my favorite players growing up was probably Russell Westbrook, just his motor and how he ran and how he played every single game.
I know that all guys want to be remembered for something. So when that day does come, you decide to move on from St. Bonaventure. What do you ultimately want to be remembered for what you achieved both on and off the court throughout your career here?
On the court, probably just playing defense every game, just being that anchor on the defensive end. Off the court, just being open. I know anytime we have fans come up to me, kids, I'm always taking pictures, signing autographs. And everyone, I've always seen like how like kids were growing up. If people try to get autographs from like professionals, they like don't get their pictures. So for me, if I'm staying out there for a half hour, an hour to take pictures and talk to kids, sign autographs, I'll do that every single game if I have to.
I do want to get into a few different A10 questions because you've been here now for 4 years. You've gone up against a lot of top guys throughout your career. Who would you say has been your favorite matchup that you have got to play against throughout the past 4 years?
In the A10, I would say Grant Golden from Richmond. That's my guy. We and him got pretty close over my 4 years here. So anytime we go against each other, it's always a fun time.
And there's been a lot of the top guys you've gone up against too, in terms of top guys like Obi Toppin, some of those guys. What has been the player you've been the most shocked by in a sense, or been the most blown away in terms of just their talent?
Um, Probably Obi's athleticism. How like athletic he was and how he's able to just jump. He could jump from anywhere, and it was always going to be a dunk. It didn't matter if he was a foot inside the free throw line or 3 feet outside the paint. It was always like a dunk, or he was just dropping it in the rim.
Now, there will be 14 more blocks potentially that could have this new answer, but when you look at every block you've had so far to this point, what block has been the biggest one, your favorite one for you in your life?
Um, I guess the one I had this year against VCU that was my first time being on top 10 ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, there's so many that I've had guys trying to dunk on me at block shots, but I don't know. I'd probably say like my favorite, probably my first one. I was a freshman. I first got in the game and I picked up 2 blocks actually, like back to back. So I think my favorite would be that one, but an exciting one probably this year against VCU.
And as we were kind of talking about earlier too, we know that that block is going to probably come in the next couple of weeks of breaking the record. When you do get that block, what's going to go through your mind? Just how are you going to react when you finally get that one block?
Um, if it happens, hopefully I'm not going to think about it at that moment. I'm probably not going to know until after the game, but just honestly, just blessed and honored to be able to be in a position where I was able to do that. But like I said, if it does happen, if it doesn't, but if it does happen, I probably won't notice it or know that happened during the game, but I'll know after the game. I'll probably hear a lot about it from my teammates and my coaches.
Well, a few more things before I let you go. One of them is you also have True Vision Shun in your bio. Take us to that a little bit. What does that mean, and what's kind of the impact of that being there?
I kind of got that from Courtney Stockard when he was here. He kind of introduced me to that whole thing. It's kind of just like a visionary, like a group that just mentors young kids and just helps kids get better in basketball. So I kind of just got that from Courtney Stockard. He kind of got me involved with that.
You as an NIL aspect has taken a lot of different stuff that's not just been about making money for yourself too. I know you've had the homeless charity thing you guys did about the beginning of the season, I believe. Take us to that aspect of you. Like, what's led you to want to give back so much more of your time when it comes to NIL deals and just overall giving back to people?
I've always been that kind of person. I've always done stuff like that growing up, charity events. I work for like I do like this kids camp in the summertime where I'm literally teaching kids from like first grade to like eighth grade, just the basic things about basketball. And I mean, I get paid for it, but honestly, I did that stuff just for the fun of the kids when they come and they're always asking me questions and asking me to dunk and just trying to just want to be on my team. We play 3-on-3-on-3. So it was kind of just being there, just kind of giving back and letting kids have fun, letting them have fun and be able to play with me.
If financial issues or something was never a problem for you, you had all the money in the world, what would be the biggest place and area that you want to impact?
Uh, Probably my hometown. just how it's kind of not the best, but just trying to put things back in that area for kids to be able to do things instead of just being in the house all day.
My final thing for you, give St. Bonaventure fans your 3 biggest goals that you have for the remainder of your career.
3 biggest goals, I guess, getting the number 1, being the all-time leader in blocks, winning an A10 championship, and ultimately try to win a national championship.
Without a doubt, man. Well, Shun, I can't wait to see how the way you guys finish up the season. I hope to be seeing you guys out there in the tournament. Best of luck, man, throughout everything, and appreciate you coming on today.
Appreciate you having me, honestly. Thank you.
Of course, you're always welcome on, man. God bless.
You too.